Hello there, you're joining yet another News First exclusive, and I am so excited for the intro today because I have a multi-talented artist with me in the studios right now. He is an entrepreneur, he is a music icon, a legend precisely, and he is Aloe Blacc, who is currently in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much for joining and taking the time to be here.
Yes, thank you so much.
Of course. So let me quickly jump into my questions with you. When we were planning on doing this interview, I had my colleagues back in the newsroom and I was like, Aloe Blacc is going to be here. And the first thing they started doing was singing. So you have a very feel-good vibe to all of your musics. How do you actually do that? Where did this whole thing start?
Oh man, my music is made for positive social transformation. I call it AIM. It stands for Affirmation, Inspiration, Motivation.
Oh.
I want my songs to be the soundtrack to you living your best life and for you achieving the most impossible dreams. So I try to write songs that speak to overcoming adversity and motivate you to be your best.
And well, I think you've had some pretty epic collaborations. For example, Avicii, Wake Me Up is something that everyone listens to all the time. So how do you actually choose who you work with? Is there a plan that comes into your mind, or you're like, this is the path I'm taking when it comes to this particular person's music? Is there something like that you
there are so many different ways that I end up working with artists. Sometimes it's just the people around me who connect me with new artists. Sometimes I really am interested and I reach out. The meeting with Avicii was because he was looking for a soul music singer, and I had already made I Need a Dollar. So that song inspired the meeting, and we ended up making something that touched the world in a big way. Now that I'm here in Sri Lanka, I'm getting a chance to hear some of the new music. Hopefully there will be an artist maybe that I can collaborate with and create something.
And what's your take on Sri Lankan music?
I think it's really interesting. I love the polyrhythms, I love the semitones, and I want to find a way that I can work with that and my blend of soul, hip-hop, and pop.
Well, you are not here only for music, and people in Sri Lanka definitely don't recognize Aloe Blacc just for his music as well. We hear you're an entrepreneur, you're very into business. So when you thought that you're going to come here, what part of your business aspect did you think, yeah, Sri Lanka is the place?
Well, so I have been introduced to Sri Lanka by a very, very talented scientist. His name is Dr. Gomika Udugamasoria, and he is a professor at the University of Houston in the School of Pharmacology, also an adjunct at the MD Anderson Cancer Institute. And I met him during COVID. When I had COVID, I had been vaccinated and boosted, and I was really upset that I got sick. And I thought, mRNA technology is great for boosting your immune system, but I want a prophylactic. I want something that is going to stop the infection. And I started reading a bunch of papers, and I read all of the science papers from Harvard and from Yale and from Stanford. And the one that made the most sense was Dr. Udugamasorya's concept of the molecular mask. Instead of trying to kill the virus with a virucidal, instead of trying to fool the virus with ACE2 decoys, his concept was to mask the cells inside your body with a molecule so that the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2 virus does not attach to the ACE2 receptor. This is the thing that I thought was going to work the best. So I donated some research money, and we did some more tests to see if it was a viable concept, and we proved the concept. It actually works in mammals. But the vaccines were doing their job. The pandemic was waning, so investment was difficult. But in that relationship, building with Gomika, I learned about Sri Lanka. He would invite me to his home, and I'd have wonderful meals, and I got to see his children playing instruments and singing songs and doing traditional dance.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's how I came to learn about this wonderful country. And then Gomika became part of the administration, working with the National Innovation and Initiative for Research and Development. So that's ultimately why I'm here. Normally I would be traveling for music, but this is my opportunity to sort of give back to Gomika what he's given to me, and to see, is there an opportunity to invest in Sri Lanka?
And can we have a little sneak peek of what kind of discussions and meetings you've had and what we can expect from Aloe Blacc in Sri Lanka in terms of businesses?
Absolutely. You know, what I've found is that I'm really interested in health and interested in entertainment.
Right.
So the two things that I'm thinking about, one is, you know, Sri Lanka presents as an island that is pure. There are so many companies here making organic produce. This is an opportunity for Sri Lanka, for people to understand that almost everything that's coming from this island is going to be the highest quality and the highest purity. Not GMO, it's organic. So I want to bring that back to the world. Let people know, if you want to have cinnamon, you probably should be getting Ceylon cinnamon from Sri Lanka. If you want the best flavor of mangoes, you can get the puree and chunks from Sri Lanka. If you want the cashew nut, you can get it from Sri Lanka, you know, organic. The coconut water, the coconut milk, these kinds of things I've had an opportunity to meet with a few different companies and manufacturing facilities to see. And then when it comes to entertainment, the initiative that Gomika has told me about, that he's working on, is about increasing the gross domestic product of Sri Lanka. How do the businesses of Sri Lanka grow? By bringing in money from the rest of the world. And I think it's possible through entertainment and music. I feel like Sri Lanka is a destination for paradise. And most people will go to some other island. I think it's time to introduce and really promote and market Sri Lanka. It can be done, and I feel like music is one of those ways. It can be done with Sri Lankan music, but it can also be done with international talent coming to Sri Lanka, which would then attract, you know, the tourists from Europe and from China and from the Philippines, Japan, and India.
Of course. And well, from what you said, I believe Sri Lanka is a place that has potential to become an innovation hub. Do you think so? And when you compare your country and Sri Lanka, what kind of push do you think Sri Lanka needs, especially that we just have a new administration that, you know, we have contacts with and all of that?
There are a few things. So in order for Sri Lanka to be a jewel in this region for tourism, which already it is one of the most toured places. I read recently that I guess Sigiriya is the #1 tourist attraction. It's important that the best of the best and the highest quality tourist and tourism service is available. So you have to have the best transfer drivers, people who really understand and know the region. But not only that, they have to understand the history as well, to be able to tell that to the tourists who are coming. So training, driver training, history training, and it's really, I think, important to do language training, because people are coming from everywhere. I went to Lion Rock today and I heard people speaking in Russian, Polish, Italian, Spanish, and I know, you know, if the tour guides and everyone else has this language training, it's going to make the experience of the tourists that much better. Above and beyond that, technology. Technology. This is the future. And from what I understand, the new generation don't want to necessarily be in the farms, so they have to be working with technology in order to push Sri Lanka forward. So the government should be investing heavily in education to keep the brains in Sri Lanka rather than going away.
Of course. And you just mentioned that you know, Sigiriya was ranked one of the best, and you just came back from Sigiriya. So before I jump into my next question, I'd like to ask how that trip was.
Oh, the trip to Sigiriya was wonderful. I had a fantastic time and went to the top of Lion Rock. I saw from a 360-degree view of Sri Lanka. It was beautiful.
That's very nice to hear it from you. Well, jumping back into my a little serious questions. Well, Aloe Blacc is someone who's known to be really good at everything he's juggling. And how exactly do you do that? And as in, when your music, you are a Grammy-nominated artist as well, and then with everything you've said about your businesses and your entrepreneurship, it looks like you're acing that field as well. So how do you actually balance all of it?
The balance part is difficult. You know, I also have a family. I've got 2 beautiful kids and my wife back in Los Angeles, and I try to focus on them as much as possible. In the same breath, I'm working on music, and also because of the relationship that I have with Gomika and inspired by the research, I've started a biotech company. So there's a lot going on. The balance really comes down to what is my priority. My priority in life is to create positive social transformation, to make sure that everything that I do is creating something good for other people. My kids get to see that, so that's part of parenting. And my wife is also an artist, but also a philanthropist and an activist. So we're working hand in hand to do what we can to, you know, support the most vulnerable in the world, but also support the positive initiatives that we know are important to transform the world.
Well, I am inspired already. I'd like to ask you, for someone who's just starting off with something new, obviously they will be facing a lot of challenges. It could be triumph the first time around as well, but they could fail 100 times and then get it right. What kind of advice would you like to give for someone who's
The first thing, I would change the language. You know, failure is not a word for me. It's learning.
Of course.
Right? Every time you attempt something is an opportunity to learn. If you don't succeed at that attempt, it's not a failure. Failure is when you quit and never do it again. So my suggestion and what I offer as advice is always to fail fast. Go out and fail fast. When you're learning how to walk, you fall down a few times as a baby. That is not failure. That is just learning. And we need these walls that we bump against to narrow our focus so that we know exactly where not to go. It helps us direct to where to go.
Yeah, of course. And one word that I constantly caught up while you were speaking was the word technology, tech. Where does Aloe Blacc think the next big tech thing is going to come out of? Could it potentially be Sri Lanka? What is the country that is most likely going to come up with something extraordinary that everyone is going for?
After seeing the engineering marvel of Lion Rock, I truly believe that a technology can come out of Sri Lanka. I've already got a chance to work with one of the very best scientists in the world who has amazing technology platform around how to develop new medicines with Dr. Gomika Udugamasodya. So I am certain that something amazing can come from here. The conversation around AI is really exciting. What are the implications for AI in Sri Lanka? How can new scientists, technologists, computer engineers use AI to solve some of Sri Lanka's biggest issues? I think that's probably going to be something that can translate to the rest of the world as well.
And can we expect you to be a part of it if it's coming from Sri Lanka?
You know, I would love to be a part of it. I do a lot of things, and I just want to be helpful wherever I am sticking my nose. So this is one of the things I think is really important, is to increase the technological output from Sri Lanka, rather than so many of the talented brains going outside of the country and making other countries rich and successful.
Of course, and while we expect business and investment opportunities from Aloe Blacc, is there a chance we could see a concert or something of that sort coming up in Sri Lanka as well? I've
been talking about that as well. You know, this trip was strictly for business, but trying to find what are the mechanisms within the country that will be able to absorb and accommodate Western talent. And so, me being Western talent, I'd love to be one of the first to try this, and maybe working alongside the government to build a platform that will help attract more talent. So I'm looking for venues across the country that I think will accommodate what I do.
Okay.
I am thinking about what days and dates I would come back to work and trying to find the exact right promoters, the people who understand their communities and how to make a concert successful.
So fingers crossed, we have an Aloe Blacc concert coming up in Sri Lanka very soon.
Absolutely, and if there's a promoter who really understands the market, they should definitely go to my website and reach out on the contact.
Oh, that's amazing news. Well, before we wrap up, I'd like to ask you a little fun question. When you're not doing business, when you're not doing music, when you're not spending time with your family, what exactly are you doing?
If I'm not spending time with my family, doing business or doing music, I am learning, and I learn so much from reading all the time. Right now, I'm really interested in meditation and what they call precognition. So there are some books about extrasensory perception, deep meditation, so that you can try to see the future, see the past, understand where you're going. And that's really fun for me.
Oh, okay. So that's one more fact that you get to know about Aloe Blacc today while you watch a special exclusive interview with Aloe Blacc. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you here to sit down and chat with you. And like I said, we are so excited and we'll be waiting to, attend your concert when you're here the next time around. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for joining.
Well, that's a wrap of our exclusive conversation with Aloe Blacc. Like I started off with, he is an entrepreneur, he's a businessman, he is a music icon, a legend, and the list just keeps going on. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again with another exclusive.